Trump will deliver his State of the Union address, laying out his vision for our country. And joining us now to talk about what they hope to hear tonight is Congressman Eric Swalwell and his guest for tonight's State of the Union address. This is Teresa Helm. She advocates for Jeffrey Epstein survivors and is a survivor herself. So we appreciate both of you being with us here this afternoon on a busy day.
My pleasure. Thanks, Justine.
And Congressman, what is the significance of the guest that you chose to bring tonight?
Well, actually, if it's okay, I prefer if Teresa could talk about the significance. I'm here to be, a supporter in solidarity with what Teresa and other survivors have done.
Well, thank you for that. And I am, pleased to be here and to have been invited. And I think it's very important for survivors such as myself and all the other survivor sisters here today, and for those that are not here today, and for those survivors outside of this whole entire Epstein-Maxwell crime network, really. And it's important for me to be here, like I said, just really demonstrating the coming together of everyone to further humanity and get on the right path of justice, because justice is lacking here, and it's something that is desperately needed to kind of correct the path of how things have been handled so far. And really, that's one of the representations of why I'm here.
Do you want to be recognized tonight? Do you want the president to address what has happened to you and your fellow survivors? What type of recognition do you think that he will give?
I do. I would like to be recognized. For certain. I believe that everyone would like to be recognized, as we should be, because again, we really represent so many survivors all across this country and really across the world. So I do hope that that is something that he has the dignity to show us, or to show us that dignity, and recognize us as, again, as he should.
And Congressman, I know you sort of passed the question on, but what is the broader message that you're hoping to send by inviting Teresa with you tonight?
That survivors are not going away, and they're backed by the American people. And what's remarkable is that tonight, Teresa and her sister survivors will be in the same room as the President of the United States, as the Attorney General, as the FBI Director. And I hope the message is received that they want justice, and they're not Democratic survivors or Republican survivors. They're survivors, sisters who went through this awful experience, and just as anyone in our country would want, they want justice, and they believe it's been delayed, and they want it now.
We understand the president is going to be talking about immigration, the economy, possibly foreign policy. We're wondering what you're hoping, Congressman, that he really focuses on this evening.
Well, in addition to hoping he addresses the survivors in the room, I want to hear how he's going to lower our costs. He said on day one that would be his priority. He's 0 for 410. People right now, particularly in California, they're paying a lot for groceries. The Supreme Court just said that the illegal tariffs have to go, and those have cost most families at least $1,700. So if he were to focus on that, I think he would find that there are partners who want to work on lowering costs, and that has to start to be his priority.
There are some Democrats that are not even going into the chamber at all. There's this sort of separate people's rally. There are dozens of other sort of like rival events going on. Why did you want to be there in person this evening?
Well, I wanted to be with Teresa and the other survivors. I certainly understand why others may not go. That's a personal decision. But I was a prosecutor for 7 years and worked on a lot of sexual assault cases. And I know how important it is, to be in solidarity with survivors, particularly when they're in the same room with you. And so that's why I made that decision. As I said, I hope that the number who will be in attendance tonight is so powerful that we start to see movement that is long overdue.
There are some quotes going out there from the president himself that he is expecting this to be a long speech because we have, quote, so much to talk about. Are you prepared to be there for several hours this evening? How long do you think it's going to go?
I'll stay as long as he wants to talk about lowering costs and getting ICE, out of our community in the way that they're terrorizing people and working to stand up for sexual assault survivors. If he wants to focus on that, he will find 435 people in the building who want to work with him.
And how will you take what is said tonight and then refocus that ahead of the midterm elections?
This election is going to be entirely about who can lower your costs and keep you safe. And we have relayed that it costs too much right now. It costs too much what you pay literally for groceries, for housing, especially in California, and it costs too much in the rights that people have lost. Women in making decisions about their bodies, or immigrants and running through the fields and factories where they work, or women being dragged by their hair and thrown into unmarked vans, or public executions of a nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. And so the cost is just too high right now. And whoever can lower those costs, what we pay and what we've lost, I believe will be given the majority in November.
And Teresa, I'm sure it was an honor to be asked to attend with the congressman this evening and be there in person for the State of the Union, but also probably difficult, a situation that you would probably not want to be in to begin with.
So yes, two things are true. I'm honored to be here and grateful for the invitation. And of course, I would rather be here on different terms than what we're currently here for. However, I am beyond grateful for all of the women that have come together, all the people working on this to move this forward for justice, because it's so important. And I truly believe that the impact, and we are really lighting the way now for future generations. It will certainly ripple through time. And there's no denying that. So, as hard as it is at times to go through this entire peaks and valleys of this entire process, I know that I'm certainly committed to it, and as are the other survivor sisters. So.
Congressman Eric Swalwell and his guest for tonight's State of the Union address, that's Teresa Helm. She advocates for Jeffrey Epstein survivors and is a survivor herself. So we appreciate your time being here. Enjoy tonight as much as you can. I'm sure there's a lot you're going to take from it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.